If the CEO, and yeah, I use the word micromanaging, and I've done quite a bit of work on that. If the CEO is busy doing that and not doing their own job, or even worse, they're doing their own job and then that. So the effect on the CEO is complete burnout, and nobody can do it all, likely not doing anything very well. And what often gets shoved to the side is the strategic part of a CEO's job, the strategic thinking and the actual leading. So they cannot lead by example if they're micromanaging a middle manager. And the effect on the middle manager is it's just like our kids. I don't know if you have children. I do. 4. Of course, they're not kids anymore. I have a bunch of grandchildren. But if you do everything for them, which sometimes, I'm sure you said this more than once, I'll just do it for you because it's easier, because it's quicker. But then they never learn. And it's exactly that way. And it's demoralizing when you have grown people and their managers, yet you've got your CEO stepping in to check on you, or worse, do it for you.
The Intelligence Forge podcast is sponsored by Permasize AI Forge. The Intelligence Forge podcast is sponsored by Permasize AI Forge. At Permasize AI Forge, we know you're ambitious, but are manual tasks like admin, lead generation, nurturing, and onboarding holding you back from truly scaling your business? Imagine saving dozens of hours every week, freeing you to deepen client relationships and execute high-impact strategy. Our clients aren't just imagining it. They're saving countless hours per week and doubling their revenue within months. We custom-build AI automation systems that eliminate the grind. From effortless lead generation and nurturing to seamless onboarding, we give you back the most valuable resource, your time, so you can focus on building those vital human connections and driving strategic growth. Stop letting repetitive tasks limit your potential. It's time to build a business that works for you, not the other way around. Ready to unlock your true scaling power? Visit PermasizeAIForge.com and book your free AI audit call today to discover how you can save time and double your revenue. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the Intelligence Forge YouTube channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss a new episode.
Welcome to today's episode of our podcast. I'm thrilled to have Cathryn Baker with us today as our guest. She brings a fascinating perspective to leadership development, having co-founded and successfully exited 2 staffing companies over 37 years before transitioning into executive coaching. Cathryn, thanks so much for joining us today. Let me start by asking you, introduce yourself to our audience, what you do, your company, and your journey so far.
Well, I'm Cathryn Baker, and as you said, I started and successfully exited. I sold 2 staffing companies, and that's over 37 years. So during that time, of course, I learned a lot about leadership and being an entrepreneur. Both my companies were successful, but I did a big pivot about 2 years ago and completely changed almost everything about my life, including where I lived. I'd sold my second company and then stayed on for really 5 years to help them out and run the branch. And then one day I just decided, my friend sent me a text and she said, "Your unlived life is waiting for you." Like, holy cow, what does that even mean? Well, what it meant, Emmanuel, was that there was an opportunity waiting for me here. I'm on a ranch right now in Texas, which now we own the house and part of the ranch, 1,136 acre ranch in East Texas. And I quit my job. We sold our house. That was all paid for, moved here. And I started the journey to learn to be a coach, which I did. I got certified. And so now I'm an executive and leadership coach and a consultant, working remotely, never done that before in my life. And I did this all starting at age 67. So I kind of call it my third act. And I've been working with another coach on that too. And it is my third act of my life. It's not the end. Lots of people my age would be like, I'm just going to retire. No way. And so I started another company. And here I am now talking to you, which is a real privilege. Thank you for inviting me.
Wow, thanks so much for sharing that. Speaking about Avansara, I think that's your company. What's the most exciting project or transformation you've worked with in the past with one of your clients, probably some of the wins, that really energizes you, if you want
Oh
to share.
gosh, that's a great question. And thank you. You said avanzará correctly. Thank you. And that's Spanish for like to be moving forward.
Wow.
So one of the most exciting was when I was asked to do some workshops with my old company, and it was many different markets, so there were quite a few people there. And I really loved it because we were getting down to the nitty gritty of communication and like how to give feedback, just how to talk, how to listen. And I used all my coaching techniques and skills for that. And that gets me so excited every time I do it because coaching can be used in every aspect of life, but really big time in business. And I'm pumped up about that because I know there's a lot of coaches and there's a lot of people doing workshops and everything, but to be doing it and talking about like a coaching culture in your company, that's what really pumps me up. And so I did that back in, was that February in Las Vegas, and it was a highlight for me.
Wow. That's very impressive. Thanks for sharing. But it sounds like you've seen some incredible transformation with your clients. I'm just curious, what are some of the practical side of your coaching? Maybe just describe it.
Oh, there's so much. I think that the I think that the biggest part of a successful coaching relationship, and it doesn't happen overnight, but it's transformation. And it sounds like, it's an overused word, but that really does happen. Because with a good coach, and I am a good coach, and a good client where they're willing to really dig deep in, they figure out everything. And so when I say transformation, it's usually overcoming something that's been holding them back. And I can use myself as an example. What was holding me back before I made the big pivot to come to the ranch and decided to leave that industry that I was in for so long and do something totally different at age 67, I had to get confidence. And I had a block with that. I had lost the confidence that I built for 37 years. I don't know where it went. It didn't go away, but it was buried pretty deep. And so through my coaching training, because I did a very, very good program, and it took 9 months, really took a year by the time I got certified, I got coached a lot. And then I have used other outside coaches since then to really build back that confidence. So that's the power of coaching, and that's what I see. It might be a different block, of course, with different customers, clients. A lot of people have a block about, I'm not good enough. They think, well, I really want to, start a bakery, but I don't think I could do it. I'm not smart enough for whatever the block is. And a coach helps you bring it out. A coach doesn't tell you, here's what you can do. You tell yourself. And that's the beauty of coaching.
Yeah, I hear that transformation. I mean, it's really important, when people could do something they feel they could not do because you are able to bring it out of them. That's transformation.
That's transformation. Exactly. And it's remarkable when you find it. And actually, it's so interesting you're asking this because I'm going to write a post about it. It takes a while as a client to really feel it. And, it's just like anything. You're not good at being a client, a coaching client right away, just like you're not good at playing golf right away. It takes practice. So, but it's there. Everybody has it in them. And I hope everybody that's listening believes that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you. With your background in business operation and now in coaching, is there a specific tool that you currently using to deliver your leadership program? I mean, maybe like an AI tool that you really love so much that is helping you to really do things better.
Yeah. I'm a chat GPT user. And, 2 years ago, I went to a a one-day seminar on AI. And 2 years ago, it was still I mean, it's not new, but it wasn't used like it is today. And I learned about prompts and all that, and I had no idea I'd be using it as much as I do. So it is a tool that I use absolutely every day, and certainly for workshops. And I was really glad when you asked me to be on your podcast, because I'm not like a techie. I'm not a professional content writer, although I write content a ton. I do all my own content writing, and I'm on LinkedIn 4 days a week, and I have been for over a year. I post 4 days a week, sometimes 5, but always 4 days a week. And so I was really glad, because I'm hoping that as people are listening, if they're not using it, feel like if I can use it, anybody can. And practice, it takes practice. And so when I first started, I was like, well, I don't want to sound like I'm ChatGPT, and I don't sound like that because well, right now she's sounding a lot more like me, because we have a closer relationship. But yeah.
Wow, I'm really glad to hear that you're actually using AI, because from research, it was said that a lot of people your age, are going to really resist using AI. If I'm correct, they call them baby boomer or something,
Yep. I'm a boomer. Yep.
you know. And it's really, really, really like some of them are even selling their businesses because they couldn't cope. And they're like, get away with this AI thing. I can't really cope with it. Just,
Wow.
But for me to hear you talk about the fact that you're using it, even though some people would think, well, GPT is just the elementary or the starting point. But yes, that's where everybody gets started from. You don't use AI and just jump to the highest level. You start from the elementary level, and then you transit, you begin to get familiar with it. And so it's really incredible, and really appreciate that, because it will also give confidence to anybody your age listening to this, watching
Right.
this later, to say, well, if you could do it, if Cathryn could do it, what's stopping me? Let me go ahead and use it. Yeah.
It's true. It's so true. And I've been on quite a few podcasts, but usually it's about more about my coaching or the leadership, development that I do. But so when I'm like, well, I wonder if Emmanuel knows that I'm not a techie, but that's the point. Yes. And like you said, if I am a baby boomer, and I didn't realize, like, some people are so afraid of it, they're even thinking like, well, that's it for my company. But it doesn't have to be scary, and it is one step at a time. And I know there's a lot more than, like, I haven't built a bot on it yet, but I have found myself talking to her. I've changed her name several times, so I don't want to say a name because I've changed it a couple times. But sometimes, like, I'll say, man, I'm a little nervous about this workshop I'm going to be doing, and I find myself, ChatGPT is telling me, "You got this, girl, and you can do it," and even that, it sounds dumb, but that's now I just rely. I know I can tell I'm good at the prompts, and then I could say, no, that's not right. I want it to sound like this. And I don't know. You have to get over being afraid of it. It's just like, you're way too young for this. But when I started in my first business, it was the mid 80s. And so computers, yes, were there, but nothing, we didn't have laptops or anything like that. And I remember, we had a big server. We have to have a special room for your server. It was cool. Yes, exactly. And I remember being afraid every time I would, like, learn a new software or something. What if I break it, or what if I do something? And actually, back in the day, then you could, like, crash the system sort of easily.
Yeah.
But those days have been gone forever. There's nothing you can do that's gonna. You just got to go for it. And that's what I did. That's what I did, and
Sure.
I'm a lot better at it now than I was 6 months ago.
That's it. If you keep using it, you get better. Yeah, thank you. You said you've not built a boat. You know, with AI yet. But that takes me to the magic wand question. So if you have a magic wand today and you look around in terms of the work you do now and you think, if there's a specific AI tool, it will help me in this and this. So if you have the magic wand, what AI tool will you want to build today? And
Wow, if I had a magic wand, this is going to sound crazy, but I would like AI to read my mind. I mean, I know it has the next word prediction and all. I mean, I understand on a rudimentary level how it works. But what if, or like anticipate my
your next move?
see my next move, or so my prompts, or maybe I'll make it maybe even a little bit more down where my prompts don't have to be so detailed, so it kind of knows, like if I say I'm going to do a workshop on communication, it's already going to know, and it might already know this. It's going to know, because I've done these on it before, what points I want to do. It's learning my voice, so it does do that, but it knows I live on a ranch, so now it's throwing these ranchy things in all the time, and I have to say, no, I'm not a cowboy, and so don't make it sound like a cowboy. Anyway, it would be really cool if it could anticipate if I would only have to do really short prompts, and it already knows. That's what I would like.
You're talking about super intelligent AI. I think that's coming, probably. I don't know. People are talking about it. So let's wait and see. Maybe one day you will be able to get something that could do that for you. And that really will be fascinating. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
All right, let's dive deeper. Let's look at, okay, you mentioned something that really struck in your background. You saying some employee got promoted into management role with little or no training on how to actually lead people. From your 37 years of experience, why do you think this pattern keep coming up, and what have you seen lately?
I think it's still very prevalent. Why does it happen? I think they don't want to take the time. It takes time and resources to develop people into leaders, and it also takes time and resources to recognize who's going to be a good leader. So what I saw happen a lot, I was in staffing. So I was like a temporary help company. And so I worked with lots of different companies. Most of them were in manufacturers or like logistics, and some hospitals, things like that. And I would see over and over again when we'll use in a warehouse. So there might be an employee who's really good on the forklift, and he's fast and a reliable employee and has a brain, and they really like this person. So up they promote, usually it was a man, promote him as a supervisor. Maybe not even a manager, put him in a supervisor, but where he is leading and managing other people. Up he goes. No onboarding, no mentoring or anything. Just often they would tell them, of course, well, here's your duties. These 6 people are going to report to you. And then, by the way, you're still responsible for, they may not even say it, but often that new manager is still responsible for some of their old duties. And, that middle level, they're responsible, or they're kind of the linchpin between the frontline workers and upper management. So they're the middle. They're the ones that should know, all have all the communication and go on, but they don't even know that. So they might be really a great forklift operator and smart and even have the desire to succeed. They just have no idea how to do it, and often they fail, and then they quit or they get fired because they don't do that job well, and the company has lost who could have been a very good employee. I saw that happen so many times, and indeed I saw it, and I mean I did it, to where I promoted somebody up in the most common one in my industry would be like a sales position, or have them manage the recruiters, and without really preparing them. And of course, then they don't succeed. So it's an unfortunate situation. And I think the other, Emmanuel, I think the other contributing factor to this is that a lot of companies, they only have like one path to promote. So in a warehouse, you drive a forklift, next you're a supervisor, then maybe you're the warehouse manager. But so if you want to get promoted, you got to go that path. And they don't offer other, maybe you're a senior forklift operator, or maybe there's another department that this person could be promoted into, but they just kind of look less like linear. And so people feel they don't have any choice but to, if they want to make more money and get promoted, that's what they do, but then they fail. Not always, of course, but often.
Well, of course, if the foundation is destroyed, what
Right.
can the righteous do? That's what they say.
Exactly.
So if the preparation is not good enough, definitely, well, you don't expect any good result out of that. But I'm just curious, when you're working with a new client that has this kind of problem, you enter into their space and you see that this is the same problem you've been seeing over and over, and you tell it to them to say, I know your problem. This is it. How quick are they to acknowledge that, yes, we know we do have this problem, and that's the reason why we need you to give us a solution? How is that transformation like?
Well, they're pretty quick to do that because that's why they hire me. That's what I have to do during the sales process. But, it depends, of course, on the company. My ideal customer is usually a mid-size or smaller company. I'm not going to go into, PepsiCo or something like that and do this. I would like to, but that would be a much longer process. But if a customer brings me in for that, so they know they have a problem.
Yeah.
And then we dig in, and really it's almost always, there's several factors. First of all, picking the right person. Is this the right person for the job? So we use an assessment, some sort of, and I like predictive index, but you use an assessment to see what is this person like, what are their strengths and weaknesses. And so if we look at that, how are they picking the people? And then we look at what's the onboarding. And onboarding, a lot of companies, like let's say you've already worked there, you're the forklift operator and you've worked there 5 years. I promote you. I think, well, why do I need to give him any onboarding? He's already been here for 5 years, because you don't know what that new job is like. And where I focus on is the first 90 days. That's the part that can really make or break. So that's when the company, my client, needs to know you have a strong onboarding process. There's a mentor assigned to them. Their boss touches base with them regularly, scheduled times to touch base. You're really clear on goals. So you're a new manager, you know exactly what is expected of you. And then if the customer is willing to pay for it, because if they're willing to pay for it, I include coaching. So I would be coaching that new manager for the first 90 days, weekly, if they agree. And that, it's so much power. And a coaching relationship, of course, is confidential. So the company, the manager would not know what I'm talking about with this client, but I report milestones with consent with everybody, and progress and goals that are met. So in an ideal situation, that's how that all works. And at the end of 90 days, which really should be, I would be done, my goal is not to have them hire me for a year, because we need to make progress on that. But then they have an onboarding system for any other people that they're bringing up. We also, of course, stuff like company culture comes in, and that's the thing with coaching and consulting is once you get in there, sometimes it's very clear that the upper management, that's where the real trouble is. There might be a toxic environment, poor leadership, or leaders that are disassociated with what's really happening. You see that, have one hope to be client where the issue is that the founders, they're all infighting. And so there's no progress being made on culture or anything like that because they can't even get it together themselves. So clearly that's a coaching issue, but they got to be willing to do it. So I hope that answers your
Yeah,
question.
Yeah, thanks so much. And there's always a warning sign that could
Yes,
cost company millions, you know.
so
But
true.
it's really so fascinating that sometimes the CEO may not even see this. But in your own estimate, based on your experience, how do you think this poor middle level management will affect or might have affected some companies, especially when it comes to cost? Because definitely there's going to be some hidden costs that probably the CEO may not even notice, but you will have picked up that if you don't fix this, you might be losing XYZ. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, there is a real cost, and sometimes they're hidden. I mean, and the perfect example of that is lost opportunity. So let's say you have a weak middle manager segment in your company. So you don't know what you're losing by the communication from the middle manager not making it to the top. There could be customer issues that the top level management isn't even aware of because of poor communication, for example. That is a hidden cost. It's easy to track the real costs of turnover. That is not hard to do. If you know, if let's say if I would look at this with a client, depending on their size, you know, how many people have been in this middle manager position in the last 3 years? You know, if they say, well, there's been five, and how long have they lasted? Well, you know, some a couple months, some 6 months. So you look at so what does that cost you? Because every time you lose somebody and have to replace them, there's time and resources that can be directly associated with that. And it depends on the environment too. If it's a manufacturing company, you know, anytime there's a disruption to the line where the actual manufacturing is happening, or let's say quality. A lot of times I would see that in manufacturing is that the quality department, so maybe the quality managers, it's been a revolving door. And all of a sudden parts are getting rejected, you know, and their customers rejecting their parts because of whatever, because of the quality. And it's because they don't have a good manager in place there, and things go to hell in a handbasket with that. So it's really easy once you get in and really start looking at things to associate costs. But it's also easy to ignore them and to not associate them with the middle managers or your managers themselves or the founders infighting. You know, what does that cost? What does that cost with toxic environment? And there's tons of statistics I could quote. Once I used my friend ChatGPT to tell you what people working in toxic environments, it really affects productivity. You know, a lot of quiet quitting, that kind of stuff. So,
Wow. And truly, they may never know the exact cost.
right,
Even though it's
right,
costing them something, they may never know. And because they don't know, that may not also make them to take action quickly
right.
because it's eating. Wow. But maybe let me add to that. And from your experience, you've seen higher level management team micromanaging the middle management because the middle management are not able to step up. Now, how does that now affect the work and the effectiveness of the CEO himself or herself, and then the bottom line of the company as a whole? Because it's like, to me, it's like the CEO or the higher management personnel is now doing the middle management's job. Combining those now to your own job, how does that affect their own effectiveness from what you've seen?
It's so much. That's one of my favorite topics because if the CEO, and yeah, I use the word micromanaging, and I've done quite a bit of work on that. If the CEO is busy doing that and not doing their own job, or even worse, they're doing their own job and then that. So the effect on the CEO is complete burnout, and nobody can do it all, likely not doing anything very well. And what often gets shoved to the side is the strategic part of a CEO's job, the strategic thinking and the actual leading. So they cannot lead by example if they're micromanaging a middle manager. And the effect on the middle manager is it's just like our kids. I don't know if you have children. I do. Four. Of course, they're not kids anymore. I have a bunch of grandchildren. But if you do everything for them, which sometimes, I'm sure you said this more than once, I'll just do it for you because it's easier, because it's quicker. But then they never learn. And it's exactly that way. And it's demoralizing when you have grown people and their managers, yet you've got your CEO stepping in to check on you, or worse, do it for you. You're demoralized as a middle manager, so you don't grow, and then now you're looking for work elsewhere. And the CEO is completely burned out and resentful. How come I have to do all this? And not really leading. That's how I see it from where I sit, and I think many CEOs will resonate with them. Yeah, because I think you don't even realize sometimes. I did it myself as a manager. People would come in my office, or as the owner, and plop this problem down. And sometimes on a busy day, I would just say, okay, we'll just do this, because I knew the answer. But that didn't teach them anything. So I wised up on that and would tell I met with my offices weekly and would say, don't come into my office with an issue unless you have a solution. And if it's not the right solution, I'll help you find the right one.
And I think it's very important that, or should I say it's unfortunate, because some CEO may not even know that this is what they are going through.
Right. Exactly. They don't.
And they keep doing the same circle, trying to think that, well, we just building the company, we just moving forward, not knowing that they are burning out. But there's one particular aspect of this process that I think we should talk about. So when you get hired, you're working with this client to solve this problem. What are some of the bottlenecks that you face that actually maybe impede you from actually implementing the solution that you already know that it's going to work for them, and you try so hard, but this bottleneck is just blocking everything?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not going to make any difference if they don't allow you. So what are some of these bottlenecks that you've seen that are also preventing, this organization to build this pipeline of this middle level management?
Biggest one is the upper management, the top. And the example I gave you where the founders are infighting, nothing is going to happen in that company until that is resolved. They are the bottleneck. And, there's just a handful of them. But then that trickles down. So the middle managers, it's to the point, and I'm not betraying any confidences here. You have no idea who I'm talking about. But it's to the point that there are highly paid middle managers and highly skilled middle managers that cannot make a decision, like even spending a small amount of money. It has to go to the top. Well, of course that gets bottlenecked, because if every little decision has to go to the top, first of all, it's going to take time. And then with infighting or not agreeing, fighting might be the wrong word, but they're in disagreement. They're not aligned. So that doesn't flow down. And so then things really get stuck there. So they're the bottleneck, and nothing can happen. This company is looking at, they want skills development, they want coaching for the middle managers, but I am in agreement with the person that I'm talking to in this company. Nothing can move forward until we start there. And if they don't agree to be coached, I won't coach them if they're not. To coach somebody that has been forced to be coached means an unsuccessful relationship.
You're right. You have to be willing. I mean, when there's a will, there's always a way.
Yes.
That's what they say.
Yep.
All right. Let's look into your company, into your own practice. How and where do you see yourself? So if we look into your practice, into your company, what you do, you help organizations and individuals. Maybe I should, let me rephrase the question. So do you work directly with organization, or do you work with individual within the organization? How does that work for you?
That's a good question. I am a business to business, so I work with an organization. I do both, but I work with individuals sometimes. Well, I mean, it has to be. There's individuals in every organization. So when a company hires a coach, they're the sponsor. And then they will say, so let's say you work for that warehouse and they say, we want you to coach Emmanuel. And so the warehouse company, they would be the sponsor paying me, but my relationship is with you. And that's where there's very clear boundaries that I am obligated, and I do tell the sponsor. Anything Emmanuel says to me is confidential unless there's self-harm, danger of self-harm or harm to others. Otherwise, it stays with us. So sometimes, as in coaching conversations go, they veer very far from anything to do with business, but it's always all about the person. And that's why I'm coaching. So, but that's made very clear. And then, but I do, as I had alluded to before, I have an agreement with the sponsor, but you have certain goals. And you would meet, I'd meet with your boss and then me, say, here are the kinds of things that we're seeing, within the organization. And we agree, but then you're the client, the actual person that I coach, you can say, I don't want them to know any of this. And I say, okay, and if that isn't crystal clear, I would not take the work. And I will tell you, I have heard, this has never happened to me, but I have heard it from a couple of other coaches. I know a ton of coaches, of course, I'm in that world, that a company tried to hire them because they were trying to get rid of someone. And so they wanted the coach to basically coach them out of the company. And of course, that is highly unethical. And because I'm a certified coach through International Coaching Federation, and so were these others, they of course refused it. And I would never do that either. So, but that was real. I said, oh my gosh, that is so low. They didn't want, I guess, fire, who knows, but nope, I would never do that.
Wow. It's really surprising that people could go any length.
I know.
To do anything just in their favor.
I know, it's
if
crazy.
You fire somebody, why don't you just say you want to fire them?
Exactly.
The lowest excuses ever you could put together, and then, it's not the end of the world.
Right.
But try to use somebody else to now talk them out of the company. Well, I think it's really low, like you say.
It is low.
Some of the things you said earlier here, when it comes to dealing with the company, but you coaching the individual in the company. I think I remember 2008 when I started my career as a SAP consultant. I think they brought in a lady to talk to some of us that just came in then. And the lady was telling me, don't worry, Emmanuel, everything you said to me is between you and I. I'm not telling your management. Then I'm like, how can I trust you?
Yeah.
How am I sure you're not going to tell them everything I'm telling you? And then they come back to me to say, Emmanuel, you said this, you're fired. I was very careful. I have to be honest with you. I was very careful. I was nervous. We were supposed to do this for like 12 weeks. For half of the time, I was very cagey. I couldn't speak because I wasn't sure. But it got to a point, I was talking to one of my colleagues and he said, no. No, my brother told me this. No, it's normal. Just be yourself. And at the end of the day, I opened up and it ended up well. Yeah.
That is such a good point. Yeah, you're 1,000% right. It takes a while to build the trust. I always do a preliminary meeting. It's 30 to 45 minutes where really we just get to know each other. It doesn't count as a coaching session. And this is why I got certified through ICF. There's a code of ethics, but still, yes, people could still do that. So a lot of it is building trust. And I think it's such a good point. I'm sure like the first couple sessions, the person is not totally, being open, but I will tell you, and I also I use an assessment, a leadership assessment, if it's a leader that is so eye-opening to them. So really, they're not, they take it, it's a written one, and then I'm doing the read back to them, and we talk about it, and that really builds trust. That takes about an hour and a half at least. That's my first session with them. So, and then, I mean, you look at me. People tell me, because I don't know, it's me, but that they feel like they can trust me and I'm open and genuine. And I am, and I always have been. So that's one of the reasons I'm a coach, because I think, well, I might as well, I feel like it's a calling almost. Sounds corny, but I do. So, but yeah, I could see that, especially in a larger corporation, a big corporate environment. You say, oh yeah, she's going to go right back and tell the bosses everything. But it won't take very long for the person to realize that does not happen. And there's a written agreement. We make that really clear. We call it it's an agreement. I don't call it a contract. But
It's all
very
about
good point.
Yeah, it's all about connection. All right, where do you see your company in the next 12 months? Do you have any plan for growth?
I do. I have well, if I vocalize it, it means it'll happen, right? Of
Yeah.
course, I want to continue. I really love doing the workshops and the coaching. Everything I do is with a coaching culture. I am entering into public speaking. I really want to do a keynote. So I've gone through coaching on that, and I've got a couple of keynotes, and I'm pitching, I haven't snagged one yet. I've gotten lots of rejections. So, but that's a goal within 12 months. And another goal that might be a little bit longer is I have a daughter who she's a school counselor now, but she's a licensed professional counselor too, and has her master's degree and everything. So my vision is to have her join my company as a coach.
And then expand the offering, expand the company.
Then I could expand the company and do more, because one person can't do it all. I have a couple of online programs, but I'm still involved in them. It involves group coaching and me coaching, and then skills development. So yeah, if I had her, there's so much more that I could do, and I will. It's a dream, but I think it's a achievable one.
Wow.
But the speaking one will probably come first.
Okay, but in terms of revenue, do you also have a goal in terms of what you think you want to achieve in the next 12 months?
Well, let's just put it this, I'd like to be six figures for sure. Yeah, when I'm solo by myself, definitely six figures.
Wow.
My company, the last company that I had, but staffing companies are very different. And so I was doing 13 million with just 2 little offices a year, but it's different. This is a different kind of business. And margins, of course, are very high because my costs are low, except for me. It's my time. And I had very expensive training, and I've invested a lot in me.
But when you say 6 figure, are you saying 6 figure per year or 6 figure in a month?
Oh no, per year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That's achievable.
It's
really
very achievable.
It's
Very.
achievable. Okay. Now let's wrap up. So there are some CEOs out there that probably will be watching these at one point or the other. Some middle level management, some people even just getting started. What advice do you have for them? Especially the CEO, the top management people that actually, they say the decision is with them. They make some of these decisions that could cripple the company, that could build the company. What advice will you have for them when it comes to succession planning and putting the right people in the right place and with the adequate training?
I would say invest in your people and yourself. To invest in time and money, because, and I'm glad you said that about the succession plan, because when they're looking down at their emerging pipeline, with emerging leaders pipeline, and there's nobody, and I've been there, I've been in that situation. I said, I'll never do it again. That's not a good place to be. So invest, because in my opinion, any problem in business, it's always comes down to people. Even if you say, well, we don't have enough, we're having supply chain issues, we can't get this, we can't get our raw materials in. It's always about a person. Somewhere when you get down to the root cause, it's about a person. So if you invest that money in their development and hire somebody like me or have somebody on your staff that's watching that. But that's opposite is happening now a lot. HR departments are shrinking and they have two HR people for 10 locations. And people, there's just no, it's like the people are getting shoved aside. And actually, to bring it to AI, that's another thing that excites me about that, because if AI can take over, which it can, a lot of the mundane or the repetitive tasks, then the leaders can concentrate on the people, and then only good things will come from that. And when you're concentrating on the people, you also see the ones that shouldn't be there, but you got to open your eyes and see. And it does become very clear as you're putting people through development and stuff that clearly, this person over here doesn't even want to be here. So that's my invest in development of yourself and your people.
Oh, thanks so much. So much. Human is the most difficult animal to deal with. Have you heard about that?
Yep. And I agree 1,000%. Why are we so hard? I don't know.
Yeah, it's so interesting that we try to train a dog, we try to train a cat to listen to us, but we human, it's not that straightforward. Well,
It's not.
all right, for people out there that wants to connect with you, probably they want to know more about your leadership program, they want to partake of it, where can they find you?
Really, the best place is LinkedIn. I have a website, and I've had it since I started, which is thinkavanzara.com. But that's not, I'm redoing that to align more with where I am right now. LinkedIn, you can find me there. There's places to book appointments with me. Look at some of my posts, look at some of the stuff I've done, and that would be the best place to get to know me, and then reach out via DM or call me. I mean, I've got my emails on there, everything. I'm here when you need me.
Wow, Cathryn, thank you so much. I cannot thank you enough because you've shared a lot of your experience, your expertise with us today. And I know that these insights about business challenges being people's issue in disguise will really resonate with a lot of people that will be watching. And I know that our listeners, our viewers, we definitely have a lot of value from everything that you have said today. I must thank you. And I want to wish you well as you go along in your career. And I want to tell you, you have many, many more years to go. You have
Thank you.
many more years to still give back. And the fact that you're already also planning, your succession planning, really, really capital for me that you also doing what you are preaching, because there's no amount of knowledge that you have if you don't transfer it to the next generation.
Yeah,
It's going to be a waste.
for sure.
I spoke with somebody last week. His name is Tom, and he was sharing a lot with me regarding big ideas within the technological space. And I told him straight away, I said, I'm very interested in documenting some of your ideas because you are a boomer also, and at one stage you won't be able to even lift a finger. You just maybe be on the bed, and these ideas will just go to waste. Can we start documenting some of these ideas now? I told him, I said, I don't know your plan. I don't know, maybe you have somebody you want to hand over to, but my take from where I'm sitting here talking to you is, let's start documenting. And he said, yeah, that's fine. I think he said, you also have a good idea. I think we can work together. So for me, that is what counts in terms of you have a lot to offer. Transfer this to the next generation to carry on.
Yes, the legacy, we have the legacy knowledge, and some of us are still in the workforce. Take advantage of that, and that's so true. That's a great story that you just told me, and I hope you do. I hope I see great things from you and Tom.
Thank you so much for coming, and we keep in touch. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You didn't quit your day job to become a full-time admin assistant. The Intelligence Forge podcast is sponsored by Permasize AI Forge. At Permasize AI Forge, We know you didn't start your business to spend 60 hours a week on paperwork, chasing leads, and managing endless admin tasks. You started it to build something meaningful and serve your clients. But right now, you're trapped in the day-to-day grind instead of growing your business. What if I told you our clients are reclaiming 15, 20 hours per week, increasing their revenue by 30 to 50% within 6, 12 months, and finally getting their lives back? We don't just automate random tasks. We build custom AI systems that eliminate the bottlenecks choking your growth, from leads generation to lead, nurturing and management to project management to client follow-ups. Stop paying for an expensive, frustrating manual system. It's time to upgrade to strategic automation. Visit PermasizeAIForge.com and book your free business transformation strategy call today. Discover exactly how much time and money you're losing to manual processes and how to get both back. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the Intelligence Forge, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode packed with game-changing insights. Your future automated business is waiting.